Hey y'all, it's Kim again. So this will be video 4 of the Jelaine Maxwell, Todd Blanche, DOJ transcript thing. And on the last one, um, Jelaine was about to get into a story about whatever was going on with Jeffrey Epstein. So let me get over here to the actual audio portion, and we'll just let it play, and then I'll scroll through. Yes, I am eating something, so whatever. I don't have to talk right this second. But anyway, let me go ahead and push play, and we'll keep going.
Even let's assume that that premise is correct, that he was doing that and he was going to tell everybody, and going to say, oh, you had inappropriate relations with an underage girl. If you don't have video, photographic evidence, I'm not sure that even the FBI would take that, well, maybe today, but certainly not back then, would take that seriously. So you have to have something to say, hey, look, I've got this video of you doing terrible things and you need to. So I built those houses, many of them. I decorated those houses. I put the electricians in for the wiring. I never wired nor saw a single house that had any type of inappropriate, let's say, video surveillance, and I'll define that for you. Inappropriate surveillance would mean in a bathroom, in a bedroom, in any private area of a home.
In a room where there were massages given.
Inappropriate. I would say I would define appropriate surveillance to be the front door of a house, or potentially, as in 71st Street, the physical plant. Anywhere else would be grotesque.
So I just want to come back to, I know I'm just hopefully saying the obvious, but when you say the houses, you're talking about his New York
Yes.
brownstone.
Yes.
You're talking about the island in the Caribbean.
Yes.
You're talking about the residence in Palm Beach.
Yes.
And you're talking about the ranch in New Mexico.
Yes.
Anywhere else?
Paris.
And in Paris. And so.
And the plane, I saw some ridiculous thing with the plane that was what my yes. I didn't hire any electrician on the plane.
So unequivocally from what you know, and you only know what you know.
I only know what I know.
But from what you know, you do not believe a camera exists, or a video camera, or a camera that takes pictures inside any of his residences.
Correct.
So even the appropriate cameras that you just talked about, which would be kind of exterior security cameras, did you know whether there was any cameras that you're aware of inside any of the locations?
Never, with one exception.
Okay, what's the exception?
The exception is Palm Beach.
Okay.
And the reason, so in Palm Beach, Epstein was having money stolen. He noticed money was being stolen from his briefcase, and he called in the Palm Beach police and begged the Palm Beach police installed cameras on where he kept his briefcase.
Where was that? Do you remember?
At his desk. So the house on the ground floor was, he had a desk in a corner. There was that camera. I think there was another camera. I think there were 2 or maybe 3 cameras. I believe only on the ground floor, wherever he may have had, maybe he had another office in the cabana, and maybe a camera there.
When was this? I'm not looking for an exact date, but what time period are you thinking about when you say
2003. I can date it pretty precisely. Actually, 2003, I'm pretty firm on that date. And I can be firm because John Alessi, the butler, was fired in the end of 2002, and he was defeated.
So aside from law enforcement installing a camera to try to catch somebody stealing money from Mr. Epstein, you're not aware of any cameras at the island? No? Sorry, just so we record it. No,
sorry.
No, that's okay. You were nodding your head no. So what about...
No cameras anywhere outside of possibly things that I would consider normal. So the garage gate, something like that, a front door.
Outside, like security cameras.
Security
No,
cameras.
I'm-
And there were cameras inside in the 71st Street that did the plant, the physical plant, because it was a commercial building. So you had the whole, that's a real thing there, it's a commercial building. And there was one camera on the front door, from the internal that did the front door, as I recall. But there were no other cameras inside the house.
Did you ever, how about photographs? Did you ever observe Mr. Epstein or anybody around him take pictures of anybody in compromising positions with women or with anybody?
No.
Did you ever hear, when you were present for conversations that Mr. Epstein was having or others were having, anybody accuse him of blackmailing them or of trying to extort them because of something Mr. Epstein knew?
No.
There have been, and you in the discovery you got in the New York case, okay?
Yes.
And in the civil cases that you've been part of associated with Mr. Epstein, have you ever been given or ever been told that video exists, like what we're talking about, or photos were taken that were compromising?
So in both of those, I received no pictures or anything from the civil case.
Mhm.
But in the criminal case, I received videos of Epstein talking to women and stuff like that. I did get those. I also saw binders, photographs of women into Turner. I never saw any. I don't know how old some of these women were. There were definitely some of the victims from Palm Beach that photographs of them in without clothing.
In those photographs, were the victims that were photographed, were there any of the people you talked about, were there men with the victims, or were they just photographs of the victims?
There was no men with these pictures. There was no client of his with those pictures. They would be standalone, for want of a better word, like one-take shots. If you were
The pictures that Epstein had with the girls, but not Epstein with the clients and the girls.
correct.
Did you, I understand you said you got those in the discovery. Did you know those pictures like that existed? So right now I'm talking about photographs of victims or photographs of women that Mr. Epstein had on his computer or wherever he had them. Did you know that those photos existed before you got them in discovery?
Some of them, absolutely, because they were in his house. Some of these pictures were on his, credenza or whatever. Some pictures I've simply never seen before. I mean, I'd never seen some of them. Some of them I had, some of them I hadn't. I mean,
Did you, so you're right, and I accept that having video or photographs of somebody famous or powerful in a compromising position would be good blackmail. But so separate, putting aside what you said about the fact that you don't know of any existence of those, did you observe over the years the folks we're talking about, or others, which we can talk about, getting massages from young women?
so I think it's really helpful to understand a few things that has been missed in this whole mishigas.
That's a technical term.
I'll look it up later. Go ahead.
I've thought about this obviously a lot, and I've given it some. So this is the benefit of some benefit of what I saw and some benefit of what I know. So just for clarity's sake, I just want to say for the record that I do believe that Epstein did a lot of, not all, but some of what he's accused of, and I'm not here to defend him in any respect whatsoever. I don't want to, and I don't think he requires nor deserves any type of protection or for me in any way to sugarcoat what he did or didn't do. So there's that. However, the man I met and the man he became, I believe that there is a progression. And I don't think that the man I met is the man that he became. I believe he became that man over a period of time. Now, we can discuss anything you want, and I'll tell you everything I know. But I think somebody who has an interest, however you define it, in underage people, is obviously someone who is unwell. But I don't think that you wake up one day and you start doing what he's accused of. I think this is something that you develop or you progress to. I think. Because
Glenn, before you get into all that, let's answer the top
Right,
line question
right.
and then get into.
okay, the top line question is
Did you ever see any of these people with underage?
no.
women?
So the reason I'm saying that is not to avoid that question, but it's because by the time we were talking in the 90s, I don't think he was there. That description, I think that what you're talking about is a later version.
Yeah, and
Is
look,
that
no, I understand that, and I do want to talk. I'm not
so? It's just I think you need to separate the periods of time
sure.
because this one of the things that was definitely missing in my trial and definitely missing from the narrative is this notion, this everything happened and he was always no, I don't believe that to be true.
So that's fine, and I do want to talk about that. I'm not pushing that away. I'm just putting it aside for a moment. What Mr. Epstein did, and frankly, what you did or are accused of doing, is one thing that we'll talk about. But what I want to understand is whether one of the ways that Mr. Epstein befriended his clients or took care of them, or some would say blackmailed them, was by encouraging them to interact with women, underage or not.
So I think in the 90s he may have encouraged them, but these were people who were in their 20s or 30s.
So
So he would have a masseuse, right? And he did, male and female, by the way, in the 90s. It's never been discussed. Both in yoga and everything, there were men as well as women. And so if you would travel, and I can show them to you, I highlighted them on the flight record so you could see that there really were men that were also there. He would say, would you like to do yoga with Tito? Or would you like a massage with this one? But they would be in their late 20s and professional masseuses.
So
I think there's a distinction.
And I want to talk about actual individuals here, and I understand the distinction between somebody who's an adult and someone who's underage. But even with somebody who's an adult, did you know Mr. Epstein to encourage folks to do that, whether it's a client or somebody else?
I certainly witnessed him. So if you were staying with him and you had a massage, that he would often travel with a masseuse. He would say, hey, would you like a massage? And he could do that, yes.
But would you or him or anybody else follow up with the masseuse afterwards to find out if there was any inappropriate sexual contact?
No.
So meaning, and then coming back to the blackmail issue, there's nothing wrong with getting a massage, of course not. Especially, especially if somebody's obviously an adult and masseuse. I'm not quibbling with that. My question is that there's a lot of accusations that one of the ways Mr. Epstein was successful was through this idea of blackmail. Yes, young women and is a crime. Children is a crime. But even women over the age of 18, if Mr. Epstein encouraged these men or whomever to get massages and have inappropriate sexual contact with the masseuses, that's a separate issue, maybe slightly nuanced. But did you ever know him to do that?
I never did absolutely myself. I never heard him ask someone. I never heard that. I never know in the entire time I was with him or friends with him or had anyone, no one ever reported to me or came to me and said that anything inappropriate happened or was upset by it, never saw a tear, and never saw ever any.
And when you say no one ever reports to me, meaning like the masseuses or any of the house staff
Never.
Or the clients.
or the clients themselves?
Never.
Okay, so let's, again, I want to stay, and coming back now to what you were talking about a moment ago with Mr. Epstein's kind of progression or getting worse. So just staying within the 90s, what role did you have, or what did you observe, which are two different issues, but both important, with respect to recruiting masseuses to come to either, I guess, Palm Beach, or to travel, or eventually Mexico? What role did you have in that?
He asked me to find masseuses.
Say it again.
He asked me if I could find him masseuses.
Like, as part of, like you said, you were his general manager, so as part of all your duties, that was one of them.
And I did do that. So the first person I believe that I introduced him to as a masseuse was somebody called. She was mid to late 20s, professional masseuse.
Was this something that happened early on in your relationship, or, and again, I know we're talking about the 90s, but are we talking about early 90s, or is this later on?
So in terms of massage, I've had a lot of injuries. I do a lot of dangerous sports, and have had multiple serious accidents, and walk without any lameness because of physical therapy and massage. That to me is it's medicinal for me. So Epstein, whatever his massage situation, whatever, he loved massage. And if I met somebody who I thought was a good masseuse or masseur, I introduced him. And because I got them and he asked me if I did, and I said yes. And I'm pretty sure that would have, like, 93, 92, from the beginning.
So go ahead. So then what happens over the next, like, there's a ton of writing and a ton of, I guess, testimony as well, but also public reporting about how the recruiting was a very aggressive effort that you were a part of, that he was a part of, and others, to try to find more and more masseuses. What is that true, and what role did you have in that?
That is partially true.
Okay.
So it is true that I found masseuses, and he became more insistent. He like knew all the time. He got bored, so he would be bored with other masseuse, and he would say, "Find me a new masseuse." I am the entire opposite. If I find someone that I like, I stay with them. I'm like, I don't want you. He would drive for me, so that is true. And in my effort to find them, I would go to massage spas, like legitimate spas, we're not talking fancy ones. And if I got a massage from somebody in a spa that I asked them if they would do home visits. If they said yes, I would ask them to come to the house, and they would see if we liked them. But these were people who worked in spas. I never ever checked their age, and I never checked their credentials. I never asked for a certificate.
What, but just to be clear, you never thought anybody was underage?
I never crossed up. No, that was never that was never a drive.
What did you know at the time about him, Mr. Epstein, requiring masseuses to be naked, or requiring masseuses to either perform sexual favors for Mr. Epstein, or to be there if Mr. Epstein masturbated, or things like that? And again, I'm asking you about a 15-year period or whatever, 10-year period. So I appreciate it's a very broad question. So answer it in a way that, addresses what you've been charged with doing, but also what's been said about you.
Okay, so 90s, I don't think that I ever thought, that never would cross my mind. I'm not sure that I thought about that in those contexts at all until his arrest and those papers came out. But I believe the subject of the question that you're asking me, I believe started in the 2000s.
So in the 2000 time period.
Yeah, 2000.
Why do you think, like, what in your mind makes you think that that's the time that it started?
I think because in December of 2001, he met and I think was responsible for that in its entirety. And the reason I believe that, so this, she was a self-confessed, having been sexually abused as a young girl, and was trained, her words, I'm quoting now, not mine, in all the arts of whatever that is, sex programming by a man called Ron Eppinger, who was her pimp from when she was 14. And in her book describes him training her to be what every man wants in all its manners, nation, and everything else. I believe that then what happened was that he met her and she came as a masseuse to his house in December of 2001 is when I think it started. Now, what their relationship was and what happened with them in that early period of time, I cannot say. What I can say is that he liked her and she started to travel with him. I believe, I know then what happened was that when she first started to see him, or first came into his orbit as his masseuse or whatever, she was engaged to be married and wearing an engagement ring and was living with her fiance. She broke up after a few months with her fiance and took up with the local drug dealer. So let's say after 4 or 5 months of in the time period when she was seeing Epstein, let's say we're now May, June of 2002, or is it, okay, from whenever she hits the, whatever that is, if that's 2000, I think it's 2000, I'm sorry. I think it's when she met him, December of 2000. So, and then we go through, I don't remember, you'll have to look.
I'm not holding you to exact dates.
No, I mean, I'm just trying to, I'm giving the, so then I think, so she takes up with the local drug dealer and she becomes druggie, like, you know how druggies, I live with a lot in Tallahassee, they become even more unreliable than normal. And at some point, she's now working somewhere else. He stops seeing her because he doesn't like people who do drugs. And I think that not seeing her lasted 5 or 6 months. And in that period of time, she got arrested for theft. And she had a warrant out for her arrest. Now this I pieced together because this piece I didn't know. She then called Epstein to have help avoiding the warrant for her arrest. And he sent her to Thailand to get a massage therapy license.
That's Virginia Giuffre.
This is the bit that I guess. This is the bit that I extrapolated. In the period of time from when she came back to when she left, he asked her to replace herself as his masseuse or whatever she was doing. And she brought the first replacement for her that would have been one of the accusers in my case, I think, would have been, and then everyone who came subsequent, simultaneously, if she wasn't the first, I don't know, every single person who came to his house came through, and her boyfriend Tony, and then whoever else underneath. And that is how it started.
So before
Tony Figueroa.
before so now going back into the 90s, you don't believe that Mr. Epstein was abusing masseuses
Underage.
or overage. I mean, I think, well, I'm using abuse in the broadest sense of the word because I'm assuming that you said that you have no idea over the years. You always assumed the masseuses were overage, right?
I
So when I'm talking about abuse, I'm even talking about an adult masseuse comes in to give a massage and is told to take off their clothes, told they're not going to get paid if they don't keep their clothes, basically suggested they had to watch him masturbate, like the things that have been publicly said about what he did.
I'm not.
For now, I'm not
I-
distinguishing adults or young or underage women for that. I'm saying,
I'm gonna think that would have been,
okay,
I'm gonna say that the massage game was a habit.
What
And
does
I
that
think
mean?
that means that I'm sure that he didn't suddenly start having relations with masseuses in 2002. I'm sure he must have had relations with masseuses. Who knows when.
but you're saying as far as you, I use the word abuse. You're saying that as far as you sit here today, you would describe that more as consensual, meaning the masseuse did this willingly.
I saw him with lots of masseuses. I never saw a single masseuse ever look unhappy or not come back or whatever. So based on my observation, I don't think that if you are being raped, as now he say, this prolific, I just can't imagine why you would
It's not what
return,
you observed at the time.
not at what I observed at the time. No.
We're gonna spend more time on this issue because I think it's important. But just going back to kind of the question that I started with in this area, which is that it ties into the blackmail issue. So we talked about people that were his clients, and you've mentioned President Clinton, and then earlier on.
Oh, I never said he was a cunt.
I did not say you said. I'm saying when you talk about his clients.
Oh, okay, right.
And then put his clients off to the side. And
Okay.
you mentioned some other people. You mentioned President Clinton. You mentioned
Yes.
President Trump early on. Who were other famous / politicians? Who were other individuals in Mr. Epstein's life during that time period? So the early
We're doing
90s.
the 90s. Should we just?
Yes.
Okay, Congressman McMillan.
Say it again.
McMillan.
Okay.
Henry Rizowski, who was the provost of Harvard. Okay.
Sure. You're looking at your notes. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Joe Pagano, Jerry Goldsmith, Joe Roberts, Kenny Lipper, Dan Abramson, in the 90s, Tom Pritzker, Ace, Jimmy King, Lou Ranieri. I mean, there were,
What about the royal family?
no, he didn't know them in the 90s.
What about what about Prince Andrew?
Didn't know him in the 90s.
What,
Oh, well, is that right?
I wasn't there. I did not. So I don't want you to worry about exact dates. You're not positive about that, but you don't have a specific recollection of that being in the 90s.
No.
Okay.
I can date it for you, I think. But I can't give you.
That's okay. That's fine. So with respect to and we'll take a break in a minute to get some food. But just with respect to with respect to the individuals you just talked about. So again, focus on the 90s. And so the people that I'm talking about right now, and we might add some names later. So we're talking about the clients that he worked with, which you mentioned several of, and I know that wasn't exhaustive, but you mentioned several of them. And then the kind of what I called famous friends, but the prominent individuals that were in his life in the 90s. Does any stick out in your mind as having received massages? All of them.
Henry Rizowski received a massage.
And then why does that stick out in your memory?
Because I saw him in a bathroom at 71st Street and he had received a massage.
And do you know whether there was any, whether the
Just
masseuse
wait a
was
minute,
naked during that
stop.
massage? Do you know whether
I
he,
doubt it. He was like in his
Say it again?
I doubt it. He was like in his 80s.
okay, so, but do you know, notwithstanding his age,
Minsky.
say it again?
Minsky is another person.
Do you know whether, for example, President Clinton ever received a massage?
I don't believe he did.
And what makes you say you don't believe he did?
Well, because I don't, so that's a good question. The time that Epstein and President Clinton spent together, the only times I believe, well, obviously they traveled.
Just hold on a minute, Lola.
That, they went on the plane 26 times or whatever. That would be one journey. So they spent time on the plane together, and I don't believe there was ever a massage on the plane. So that would have been the only time that I think that President Clinton could have even received a massage, and he didn't, because I was there.
And you mentioned that early, in the very beginning of the conversation, you mentioned President Trump in the early 90s.
Yes.
What did you observe as far as President Trump and his relationship with you or Mr. Epstein?
Well, I just want to say for my relationship with President Trump, relationship's a big word, but I just want to say that I met him, well, I believe I may have, because of my father in the 90s.
Yep. Okay.
So my father liked him very much, and he really liked his wife as well, because they were both Czechoslovakian. And as far as I'm concerned, President Trump was always very cordial and very kind to me. And I just want to say that I admire his extraordinary achievement in becoming the president now. And I like him, and I've always liked him. So that is the sum and substance of my entire relationship with him.
What about Mr. Epstein's relationship with him?
I don't know how they met, and I don't know how they became friends. I certainly saw them together, and I remember the few times I observed them together that they were friends. I mean,
Was that in social settings or was that in private settings?
I believe I only ever saw them in social settings. I don't recall any private settings.
Have you ever been to Mar-a-Lago and Palm Beach?
I have.
And what time period are you thinking about when you say yes?
I don't remember when the president purchased Mar-a-Lago, so from whenever it turned into a club, I went there, and I was loved it.
Did you go there alone or with Mr. Epstein?
Mostly alone.
Do you know
Only
where
times I went there was for an event, maybe once or twice.
And do you know whether Mr. Epstein ever went there?
I believe he did, but again, we really were. He didn't take me with him all the time, so he would go and. Oh, he never. I never. Well, he did from time to time, but he would go alone. I think he would maybe go himself to the spa. I certainly did.
Did you ever observe President Trump receive a massage?
Never.
Did you ever observe? You said that you were. I mean, have you seen there's photographs, public photographs of Mr. Epstein and President Trump together?
Yes.
And there's photographs of. I think you're in some of the photographs
Yeah.
as well. Those all appear to be social settings.
Yes.
That's
my memory. There were social settings. I don't know Epstein's, if he had, whatever the nature of the president's friendship, if you will, or however you want to define that with Epstein, I was never witness. I think they were friendly, like people are in social settings. I don't think they were close friends, or I certainly never witnessed the president in any, I don't recall ever seeing him in his house, for instance. I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
When's the last time you think you saw in person President Trump?
It's been a long time. Probably not. Sometime in the beginning, mid 2000s maybe, and it would only have been a social setting as far as I recall.
And did you ever hear Mr. Epstein or anybody say that President Trump had done anything inappropriate with masseuses or with anybody in your world?
Absolutely never.
In
any context.
Do you know whether masseuses from Mar-a-Lago spa ended up giving massages to private massages to Mr. Epstein? I'm not asking for what you may have read, but from at the time, from your personal knowledge, do you know whether that's true?
I don't recall. Is it possible? Yes, but I don't remember that. So I don't recall that, but it's possible.
Do you have recollection of you ever recruiting a masseuse from Mar-a-Lago spa to go give a private massage to Mr. Epstein?
I've never recruited a masseuse from Mar-a-Lago for that, as far as I remember. I can't ever recruit
Okay, so what I think we should do now, it's about 12:15. We'll take a break. And we will come back and we'll done.
Okay.
All right. So we got through video number 4, and Lola had to go outside, and now she needs to eat. So anyway, I will talk to y'all later. Have a good afternoon. If I don't see you, have a good night. Bye.